But when Mr. Greengills crawls up out of Tokyo Harbor and starts hip-hop dancing all over the train station, we know that a new era in international relations has arrived. It'll take more than the wonders of modern Japanese science to defeat Godzilla. It will take, well, deadpan voiceover narration by Raymond Burr to cover up the fact that everybody's speaking Japanese in this movie. But it's Godzilla night on Monstervision, including our second feature, too, Godzilla versus Mothra. And it starts in just a couple of minutes. You know, nobody has anything good to say about nuclear radiation, and it created more than 30 Godzilla movies, including the big-budget American Godzilla that opened earlier this week, and we should listen to the planet. Fallout can be our friend.
See Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs next on TNT.
You know that big new Godzilla movie that came out this week? Don't even mess with that. They spent $100 million making that movie, but we have two Godzilla movies tonight that are just as good, and both of them together cost about $100. Other than that, no difference. In fact, we've got the original Godzilla movie from 1956, followed by the classic battle of the scaly Japanese behemoths, Godzilla versus Mothra. Ooh, yeah. I'm Joe Bob Briggs, as usual, and you know how I'm always on the verge of getting fired from this job? Well, I was watching ESPN today. I was wondering what I might do if I needed something to fall back on, right? So I was thinking I might go out for this new sport called triathlon. You know how this works? All right, first you swim 37 miles through icy, shark-infested waters in 9-foot waves wearing one of those mono-butoc wetsuits, normally seen only in James Bond movies. You know the kind. This is just the warm-up. After you've rounded the buoy, as they say, and landed back on shore, you take off running, jump on one of those 20-speed Italian bicycles with the wheels that look like dental floss, and then you pedal for 274 miles through quaint villages in the Swiss Alps. And all the time you're doing this, you chug that Evian Yupster water out of a special Evian Yupster water holder plastic device attached to your bike there. And then after you've cycled across the slopes of the Jungfrau or some damn thing, you jump off the bike and you do a little 59-mile sprint to the finish line. And the first one to get out of surgery wins. Who started this? Where is this guy? Isn't it time to scissor off this guy's hamstrings or something before he carries some automatic weapons up into the Empire State Building, starts hyperventilating? I'm not kidding. All the guys that do this sport, they look like Bruce Dern. You know, they got 70-year-old men doing this sport. You know what a 70-year-old Bruce Dern looks like? This is so far beyond jockdom, we need a special word for this. This is not aerobics, it's not cybernetics, it's not Dianetics. It's like psycho sports. Sports for deranged psychos. It's the same principle as those guys who lift weights for so long that they look like they have muscles on the outside of their skin. You know, the ones that always look like somebody just painted some linguine with tomato sauce on their stomach. You see these guys and you think, what if this is the day he does one too many bench presses and that whole thing just pops open like a water balloon? So anyway, these psycho sports triple reverse triathlon guys are the same way. They got those giant veins in their necks from pumping their arms, you know, and bugging out their eyes while they're wearing super cool California goggle shades, right? When they fall down on the ground at the end of the race, they grab their sides like maybe they're having 3,000 appendicitis attacks at once, and they're happy. You know, they're looking at one another like, mine hurts worse than yours, man. And then, well, my feet are bloodier than yours, man. And they say, so what? I popped my shoulder out of its socket 3 times. I lost all feeling in both thighs. And then after they've compared notes like this for a while, they say, isn't this fun? I'm not really that serious about it. You know, I just do it to keep in shape. And then we go, oh, yeah, man, too. That's what I do, too. Love your purple leotard. You know, isn't there some way to just execute these people? Line them up, kill them? At least don't show them on cable. It just encourages them, you know? All right, let's head for the big greenie, all right? You know what's coming. Raymond Burr and a 12-story lizard with bad breath and 3,000 Japanese extras. Still worth watching after all these years. I'll do the drive-in totals at the first break. Roll it. And while you're watching that, I'll be deadlifting a Winnebago and calling Nike, asking them if they want to buy advertising space on my full-body cast. Hey, Joe Bob Briggs here, and look at all these emails that just poured in today. Let's just read one. Hey, cowboy, did your mother smoke crack when she was pregnant with you? Well, we just love to hear from all our wonderful Monstervision fans, and there are two ways you can do that. You can write to me in care of Monstervision at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, or you can email me at monstervision@turner.com. And you can also visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/monstervision and make my life a living hell directly from there. Let's try another one. Dear Joe Bob, you said... A lot of mail came in today.
Catch Monstervision with Joe Bob Briggs and Reno the Mail Girl every Saturday night on TNT.
This TNT presentation is brought to you by Propecia. Talk to your doctor today.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
Well, are you starting to remember just how bad it is? Don't get me wrong, I love Godzilla, but you gotta laugh when they do those Raymond Burr insert shots, you know. Just stick a palm tree next to him and have him watch the rare tribal native ceremony, and then they cut back to him and he says, they believe their Godzilla is responsible for all those ship disasters? Anyway, Godzilla was the first of all the great Japanese monster movies, and it came out in 1954 under the title Gojira, and it was very popular in Japan, and then it got discovered by accident in the U.S. Two producers in L.A., Richard Kay and Harold Ross, bought a bunch of special effects footage from Japan to use for their own projects, and some of that footage included Godzilla. So they got the idea of changing it into an American movie. So they hired an American director, Terry Morse. He wrote some additional dialogue. They dubbed all the Japanese actors into English. They took 20 minutes out of the original Japanese version. Then they hired Raymond Burr, so they'd have a narrator to help them edit it all together. And did you notice that clever segue they did? Mr. Burr, we noticed that your plane was flying over the ocean when the first ship disappeared. Did you notice anything from the plane? Isn't that what they said? They said, you were flying over it. You must have seen something. So anyway, they spent a total of $100,000 on this, and then Joe Levine, the great promoter, bought half of the movie, and within a year it had grossed $2 million, which is not that much today, but it's a 2,000% return on their investment. And notice that in the great tradition of all monster movies, you don't see the actual Godzilla monster until pretty late in the story, but I think he might be coming up now, so let's watch. And when he comes up snorting, doesn't he? Godzilla was the first movie monster with halitosis. You know, we have hardcore, depraved cyber geeks who never miss a single week in the Monstervision chat room. Some of them hadn't changed clothes or showered in 3-4 days, and they get in this kind of computer keyboard psycho freakazoid zone, and they want to discuss Antonioni with me. Check this out at tnt.turner.com/monstervision, but whatever you do, don't mention the early work of Francois Truffaut when he was a critic for Cahiers de Cinema. That drives him crazy.
Come meet all the Monstervision fans in our chat room at tnt.turner.com/monstervision.
Hey, Joe Bob Briggs here with the #1 rule for a TNT Monstervision movie. Anybody can die at any moment.
Watch When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. 1 week from tonight at 11 on TNT's Monstervision. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
A Jurassic beast resurrected by the hydrogen bomb. Although I think there's a little lost in the translation here, because why is everybody at the paleontology lecture so upset? I can't figure it out. Anyway, this was obviously a sensitive topic in Japan in the 50s. Some unexplained force strikes, killing hundreds, wrecking the environment, burning people alive, followed by officials roaming the countryside with Geiger counters trying to find the radioactive areas. It's a little surprising that this movie was so popular in the United States, which had just dropped the bomb on Japan 10 years before, because Godzilla are us, right? Back to Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I don't know about you, but I'm just totally hooked by that great love affair between Emiko and Naval Salvage Officer Hideto Agata. All we need is Celine Dion singing about it, right? No, we don't need Celine Dion singing about anything.
Hi, I'm Reno, the Monstervision mail girl. And in case you don't know, Monstervision is also on the internet, and it's updated every week. To find us, go to tnt.turner.com/Monstervision, and you'll see our horrible lead stories of the week. In fact, you might even find out something about me. Pleasant dreams.
See Reno deliver the Monstervision fan mail to Joe Bob Briggs every Saturday night on TNT. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
Okay, Godzilla's finally in Tokyo Harbor where he belongs, ready to do the monster mash. As Perry Mason looks on in astonishment. He never looks astonished, does he? He has the one expression for the whole movie, like, very interesting, Your Honor. May I cross-examine? Anyway, this might be a good time to read a little viewer mail in the segment we call Joe Bob's Advice to the Hopeless. And here comes our letter now, hoisted into view by the lovely TNT mail girl.
Don't even start. I'm not in a good mood.
Don't even start what?
Whatever cute thing you're going to say, just go ahead, just skip it.
Got up on the wrong side of the boudoir today?
See, just like that. Just like that, I knew you were going to say something like that. You know, I haven't had anything to eat. My car broke down. Something about a cracked block. I don't know. My best friend says I never return any of her phone calls. My mother. She sent me casserole. She says I should eat more. From Michigan, I ordered the swimsuit out of a catalog, and it has a split in the back. Oh, my cat won't use the litter box, but I mean, what else is there? Oh, and I lost the letter, and I can't even find that. And so, anyhow, I did find this, and so I just think you should just go ahead and read this and just don't give me any back talk.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I said, don't you say anything.
No, ma'am.
Good.
Whose show is this, anyway? Whoa.
Forgive me. I'm sorry. I know this is your show.
You know, we got to get one of those policies that has psychiatric disability on it. Is she going to be okay? Because let me do it. Joe Bob. So, you want to know how to pick up easy women? I like this one. Well, all you need to do is come to Loyola College in Maryland. We have plenty. The guys at Loyola College. How about hosting Monstervision from our campus? Tim Miller and the guys, Baltimore, Maryland. Tim. Are you telling me that you have so little respect for the young women enrolled at Loyola that you would suggest that they are desperate or easy, or to use the vernacular, hot to trot? Do you really feel this level of contempt for the legitimate needs of college-age girls? I-95, right? It's right off the freeway there. Loyola, though, doesn't that mean Catholic? Priests and nuns, right? I would never go to a religious school just to have sex. But, anyway, okay, back to Godzilla, and, we're gonna watch some... Oh, you're back.
I just want to apologize.
That's okay. Are you all right?
Yeah, I was venting, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can vent on me, sweetheart. That's fine.
Well, forgive me.
Yeah, why don't you give me a big hug and kiss?
Let's not go that far.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
Here's Raymond Burr. Godzilla eats a railroad car, right? Godzilla destroys a bridge. Talk about phoning it in. Raymond faxed it in. And I'm a Raymond Burr fan. This was really towards the end of his feature film career. He had made dozens of movies as a heavy, famous movies like Desperate and Raw Deal and Hitchcock's Rear Window. and this was really the first time anybody gave him a sympathetic role. A couple years later, he would become Perry Mason, and that was it as far as film goes. He spent most of the rest of his life doing TV. He had to beat out Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and Fred McMurray for the role of Perry Mason. But then he did it for 9 seasons and won 2 Emmys, and then he went right into Ironside, miniseries, TV movies. He did 24 Perry Mason TV movies starting in 1985, which may make it the longest-running TV movie series in history. And of course, he died 5 years ago at the age of 76. And he knew Asia quite well, by the way, because he had lived in China as a boy, and he attended the University of Chongqing. And then in World War II, he served in the Navy, and he was sent home after being shot in the stomach on Okinawa. And he was a Canadian, one-time nightclub singer and expert orchid grower. And I think that's about enough Raymond Burr trivia, don't you? Back to Godzilla. Did I mention that he owned a copra plantation in Fiji? I didn't mention that. You know what copra is? The oil of the coconut. It is. Copra.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Those Godzilla totals are 22 dead bodies, 2 fiery shipwrecks, flaming ocean, 1 hurricane, 1 helicopter crash, railroad car eating, train stomping, bridge chunking, bad breath tower melting, exploding fuel tanks, 2 Jeep crashes, flaming Godzilla breath, cup car incineration, multiple high-tension wire toppling, glowing tail fin building wasting, clock tower eating, radio tower eating, 1 tidal wave, exploding fish, gratuitous tribal dancing, giant lizard foo, radiation foo, missile foo, anti-aircraft foo, 4 stars, the movie that made the reputation of director Inoshiro Honda, who would go on to make Rodan, Mothra, Ghidra the 3-headed monster, that underappreciated favorite of mine, Matango, Fungus of Terror. All right, back to the movie. Inoshiro Honda, Destroy All Monsters. We get requests for that one all the time, but we never show that one. Also, Monsters from the Unknown Planet, Honda's final film of his illustrious and monstrous career. But nothing compares to the big green guy. If you really want to see this movie, watch the Japanese subtitled version without Raymond Burr. That version actually makes sense. But what fun would that be?
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Godzilla, King of Monsters on TNT.
Why is Emiko crying? I don't get that part. Dr. Sarazawa hears the hundreds of uniformed children singing as Japan prays for peace, and he decides to authorize the use of the oxygen destroyer. Couldn't they come up with a better name for that? Also, if Emiko's trying to save the world by talking Dr. Sarazawa into changing his mind, why does she take her fiancé with her when she goes to see him? Isn't that likely to put him in kind of a bad mood? Well, far be it from me to question the screenwriter of this monster classic, so let's see what happens in the rather odd conclusion of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which was originally just called Godzilla. But in 1976, Joe Levine changed the title to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, so that's the title that we have to use when we show it on TV. Don't ask me why. Roll it. Takashi Shimura plays Dr. Yamane. He's famous as the samurai leader in The Seven Samurai, and he also starred in Akiru for Kurosawa, the greatest Japanese director. You have to say those Japanese names fast. Takashi Shimura. The love interest, Ogata, is played by Akira Takarada. You know, you could write whole scenes of kung fu dialogue just with their names. Takashi Shimura. Akira Takarada, my friend.
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and Godzilla vs. Mothra on TNT.
And so the one-eyed scientist, Dr. Sarazawa, who we never liked anyway, gives his life so that all the life in the ocean can be killed. Isn't that what happens? He takes the oxygen destroyer down there, which looks suspiciously like a construction worker's thermos bottle, and he sacrifices himself as a metaphor for what America should do with the atomic bomb, make it impossible to use ever again. But of course, the critics didn't talk about that part of the story. Anyway, this was the movie that not only launched Godzilla's career, but it launched many other sci-fi monsters at Japan's famous Toho Studios, and we'll see another one in just a minute when we screen one of my favorites, Godzilla vs. Mothra. Yeah. Same director, same producer, same everybody. I want to remind you first, though, that next week is Oversexed Cave Women in Loincloths Night, beginning with Victoria Vitri in the ever-popular When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, and continuing with the evil Queen Martine Beswick in Prehistoric Women, two cave girl classics from the 60s. Love those movies. Okay. This next Godzilla flick, in case you're a little fuzzy on your Godzilla history, is the one with the giant egg and the teensy-weensy identical twin fairy women who bring the aged Mothra from their bombed-out nuclear test site island to fight Godzilla and save thousands of fleeing, shrieking Japanese extras. Non-stop action in this baby, starring Akira Takarada as the young reporter, and the Toho Studios Special Effects Department is all of the monsters. We'll be talking about it as we go through the rest of the evening here, but for right now, I'll just give you those drive-in totals. We have 11 dead bodies, 1 typhoon with tidal wave, 1 giant monster egg, singing midget fairy girls, 1 giant flying moth, 1 nuclear mutated giant prehistoric lizard monster, fleeing hordes, massive monster stomping, including destruction of radio towers, pagodas, factories, and office buildings, 2 missile attacks, 1 fist fight, fire spitting, scorched earth army attack, monster electrocution, village burning, giant caterpillar attack, gratuitous tribal dancing. Of course, you always have gratuitous tribal dancing. 4 stars. Check it out, and I'll see you in a few. You know what always happens on Godzilla night, though? We always have parents that let their 7-year-olds stay up and watch it. And then I say something off color, as my mother used to say. You know, he's talking off color. And then that TNT switchboard lights up like RoboCop going through a metal detector, you know? So we got to remember, children watching, okay? Can't talk about sex. But you can talk about boogers. They love that.